Thank you for that. Thank you. I'm gonna give a shout out to my man. So cool for that. All right. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the New Look Black Coffee Podcast, the all New Look Black Coffee Podcast. I'm excited about this. So episode 31 today, ladies and gentlemen. First, today's episode is brought to you by Swagology Clothing. The Swagology brand is designed to inspire you to connect with your true self and inspires others to take care of their own mental health. So be your true self and swag out with us at Swagology Clothing, and that's at swagologyclothing.com. Episode 31. So I've been talking about this episode, this trilogy that I'm going to drop for the summertime, and it's The Real State of Black Education. This is volume 1. So today, ladies and gentlemen, I want to start it off by talking about college versus trade school. College education versus trade school. Now, today I have a special guest in the building that's going to help me talk about this. But he's actually been on a Black Coffee podcast before. But it wasn't recorded. It wasn't video. It was just the sound version of it. So today we have Mr. Greatheart back in the building. But first I want to say is I want to give a little piece before I want to frame this whole idea of the podcast, frame this whole situation. So now, I am still a black radical, very much so. But however, as much as I would love to be living in the 70s when you walking around in black power and your fists up in the air, yeah, I would have loved to have been in that era. But the truth of the matter is I'm an 80s baby. But I still have that radicalism, but I've learned how to modernize it. Because what I've come to realize is people are not going to receive information that way anymore. It's just not the way life is. However, I still consider myself what we call a thinker. Okay? So there's no more woke people. I ain't gonna say there's no more woke people. I'm sorry, I should have said that. I ain't gonna say there's no more woke people, but the people that y'all call woke people, those are thinkers. And thinkers have been around for a long time. So when we think about thinkers, I would say, you got your Martin Luther King, you got your Malcolm X. Those are the two, that everybody know about. But thinkers are people who are highly developed intellectuals, and they have intellectual powers. So where you going with this? So in the black community, even today, there's a huge debate going around with, do you need college, or should you just pick up a trade and create jobs for your community, or go to college and work other jobs? Now, these two ideologies of where black people should go has been going on really since the latter part of the 1800s after slavery and the start of the 1900s. And the two main thinkers, because that's what we're talking about now, at that time was W.E.B. Du Bois and Booker T. Washington. Okay, so those were the main two thinkers at the time. Now, Booker T. believed in economic independence, okay, and creating jobs and getting trades that would eventually lead black people to the equality that we deserve, want, or should have. But then you had W.B. Du Bois who thought political avenue, education was the way, political action, civil rights movement. He was born in a different type of atmosphere. He went to a different type of schooling. So, now I have to be careful because in one of my episodes, I strongly, now to be clear, I shouldn't say hate, but I said it anyway. When people say, or black people say, we don't need college education. You don't need college education to make it. Look at what such and such is doing. Look at what such and such is doing. Look at what they're doing. I don't like that. Now, I do agree that there are a lot of professions out there and a lot of people out there who add to society that doesn't necessarily have a college degree. So which way should we push black people today. That's the point of what we're talking about. Which way should we push black people? Now, here's my problem, Greatheart, with certain people telling our youth where to go with their careers. Because I feel like if we get the two mixed up, then we fail. We can't look at Bill Gates. I'm just saying him for, lack of. Can't look at him and say, hey, he's an example. Well, they got the money to fail and try over again and fail and try over again. So real quick. So for me, as a black independent, I had this grand idea. And I probably said this. I'm gonna go deep today. I had this grand idea that I'm gonna have an after school program. It's gonna be my own. I'm gonna employ black people. I even had you to come speak to my boys that summer.
You did. I was gonna bring that up first. I was gonna, say appreciate that opportunity for real.
That opportunity. I said, "Oh, I was so excited." I'm doing things, but in the reality of it was, in September I didn't have a job. I didn't properly prepare to be independent business owner. It's not to say that I'm not a great teacher or I'm not a great instructor. I am great around youth, the youth.
It's that key word you're missing, that resources. Okay.
Resources. But here's the thing, though. Maybe that just wasn't for me.
Oh, yeah, that's true, too.
Maybe I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. See, we got this idea where, and then you hear people say, why are you doing that? You can own it. Well, maybe they don't want to own it.
I get that a lot, actually.
Maybe don't. So while I was a black independent, I'm still a black independent, trust me. Nobody in this world wants a more black society. I wish we had our own hospitals, everything black. I wish, trust me, nobody is. But I understand that you can have your own in your community. You go outside of your community to get, you want some jerk chicken, you're going to come over here. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? That's just it.
I understand where you're coming from.
So, yeah. So, anyways, so not to get off on that. So, I feel like that we make a mistake when we push kids this way, and we could believe. You ever heard of the woman or the male or student that went to school for something that their parents pushed them, they really didn't want to do it, and they just dropped out?
I get that all the time. Like
as a college instructor.
Yeah, I get that quite often. And I'll say this: whenever I deal with freshmen, I always want to ask them, like, what are you interested in? What you want to do? Like, what's the long term? Make sure they're in the right area or major or things like that. Even when I speak to high school, like, hey, what do you want to do? And I tell people, it's okay if you don't know. Like, it takes time to figure it out. My original degree was psychology. A lot of people do not know that. But I switched over because of my mentor, because I found technology, more fun to learn. And that's what I switched over to. So, I mean, some people know in college that my original degree was psychology, but I switched over. But a lot of times you have to find your way, what you want to do in life. I'm still interested in getting my master's degree in psychology once I finish my PhD, but it's one of those things, it takes time. People just don't know because they're not exposed. I was exposed to college, but not the academic side. I was exposed to band because my church went to Winston-Salem State University, which is an HBCU. We went to their, homecoming every year. So I knew about the band. So the Red Sea. If anything, I knew about the Red Sea and I knew about Shaw University because that's what I was exposed to as a kid growing up. However, I look at a lot of times that people push their families or their child or people to go to college. That's cool. But now we're in society where you don't have to go to college. You can do other things to make money. And I always want to tell people, hey, look, what do you want to do in life? I have a friend in my office. He went to a different institution. I worked somewhere else. But me and him always used to fuss for students that come into our office. We split the office. Hey, I tell them, it's really like a night and day conversation. Do what you want to for a career. Do what you love. And the money will come find you.
You ain't lying about that. Now, before you go in, I want to properly introduce you. I ain't introduced you yet.
Gotcha.
Before we get So
It's all good.
I people like, who is he talking? All right, so ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I do want to properly introduce, because here on the Black Coffee Podcast, I just want y'all to understand that we're never gonna have nobody up here talking about something that they're not qualified to talk about. Okay, that's not it. That's not the space that this is. So we do have Damien Greatheart. He's a CIS professor at Livingstone College. He has his master's degree in CIS. He has it from North Carolina A&T University, and he's also pursuing his PhD, and that's going to also be in CIS. He has a lot of experience in CIS, and the reason why we're talking about CIS, the reason why I brought him, because it's I don't want to say it's a myth that robots will get ready to take over all the jobs and nobody's gonna have a job.
My goodness.
So before our people go over the deep end, today what we're gonna talk about, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna talk with Mr. Greatheart about how to blend, okay? Push people who want to go to college, who should be in college, and how we push people in the trades that need to be in trades. One of the things that really upset me, I was talking to this older woman, and she said, I don't want to have a black doctor. I want a white doctor. Now, she's the baby boomer, so she comes up in that era where black people really, we don't think y'all smart. But I want black people working on me as I age, God's will. But if I'm not pushing people to get education, then where am I going to find the black doctors? We want black lawyers when we get stopped by cops. But anyways, so without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's give Damien Greatheart a round of applause. I usually do that. Round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Black Coffee Podcast. All right, now
I think it's the lack of exposure, and I think people get scared of math and how we're taught, because some of the times, we're not exposed to certain areas. I mean, I know situations when I grew up, I didn't know. I've never had a black teacher till my last semester in high school, right? But it's the lack of exposure sometimes.
You never say that one more time. You didn't have a black teacher
until my last semester in high school. Miss Harris, I love her to death. Like, I haven't seen her in a while, but love her to death. She was on me hard to make sure I got into college. However, it's one of those situations. I feel like it's the lack of exposure, because at the end of the day, mind you, this was like 2008, 2009. I didn't know there was different, tracks for students either to get into college, go to a 2-year college, your local community college, or just go straight into the workforce. This was back in 2009. So I didn't know.
2009, you didn't even have.
Didn't know the tracks. Like, I was on going to either the workforce or going to, a local community college. That's it. And mind you, Gardner Webb is like down the road from where I'm from. I didn't know about Gardner Webb until after I graduated. So it's just weird that the counselors didn't put that in my, in my hand. And they knew I could play football. And my grades were up to par, but I didn't know anything else.
Yeah, it's the same
but
thing with me.
So
how do we expose these children? We get ready to take a break for a second, but how do we expose children to technology, and why is it important to expose them to it?
I want to say there's STEM camps, there's opportunities, there's things you can look up. Be a part of the community. Be aware of the organizations that are going on out there. We're so quick to go look up a party flyer or a promotion or whatever like that, but we can look into the community and find out what organizations are doing things like this.
So somebody may say, where? I don't see no STEM camps nowhere.
Oh, I understand, but like I said, you have to just type it up or look it up. Shoot. Now the YMCA are starting to fund events like this now, and majority of times, like, okay, so like I informed you earlier, I was just out here last week in Atlanta, right? It wasn't a STEM camp, but it's one of those programs that introduce students to colleges and organizations like that for training, not training, but more of after school enrichment programs, right? But they do have STEM parts, but I don't care what city you're in. Every city is going to have a STEM program or a STEM camp or some kind of enrichment for students in general. But you have to either look into it, be a part of that group or that club to know about it. I'm not saying you have to be like one of the elites to be in these programs or these organizations, but it's also doing the research behind, like, hey, what do I want Billy to do during the summertime? Or what do I want Tyrone to do this summer? Or what do I want Susie? It's because at the end of the day, we have to look for these programs as well, too. I go to the library. I don't work during summertime.
These kids ain't going to no library.
Whoa. You got to hear what I'm saying, though. I went to the library. I go to the library and do work.
You go to the library?
Yeah. Let me get into it. I go to the library from like 8 to 12 this summer, right? To knock out my work. I usually can knock out from 8 to 12, I can knock out about a week's worth of work at that time frame, right? And I went to the library and I started reading the flyers. I was like, oh, there's enrichment programs here as well, too, even for STEM, even for other things going on. And there's other programs as well that post flyers that what's going on throughout their community as well, too. So I'm like, sometimes you have to either look it up, be aware, be in the community, be involved. I'm not going to say, oh, it's everywhere out there, but Google is your best friend.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a break. Coming up, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk about jobs and how these technology, how they lead to jobs and where we're going to go with this. And I'm going to tell you the importance of that. That and more coming up on the Black Coffee Podcast, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, James. Right. Welcome back to the Black Coffee Podcast, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, James Allen. All right, so real quick, before we get back into Mr. Greatheart, who's giving some great information, how can I say this? White people feel like their race is being distinct, washed out. You know, black and brown people, by year 2044, I believe, please don't quote me on that, is all different type of research out there. They're saying that black and brown people are going to be in a minority. I think the majority. I think we're already the majority. I've said it on other podcasts. In slavery, you had 30 slaves in the backyard to a house of 4 white people. And then over the course of 160, give or take, years after slavery, because really slavery wasn't that long ago, and all of a sudden they overtake us when it comes to numbers. And even in the South, where there are more black people in the southern region than any other region in America, I just know the numbers are skewed. And then you got to think about the 3/5 compromise, when they wasn't even really counting total all black people. So I say all that to say, their money still strong here in America. Okay? Now, look, guys, I can't make this stuff up. Even Mary Miller, a Republican representative, after the Roe versus Wade, and I quote, you can go look this up, I quote, she said this was a victory for white life. They want them to stop killing white babies so they can be. So I say all that to say, as we move forward, how can we make a difference when it comes to the money, jobs? What are opportunities out there? How do we go about that? Where do you see that when it comes to technology? And do you think these robots are going to take all the jobs from black people, like everybody's saying?
For instance here, I don't believe so. I know everyone's looking at, AI is taking all these jobs away and things of this nature, right? So what I looked at was AI jobs that are coming in the future, right? A lot of people don't realize you can get certifications these days. They're just as important as degrees. People don't know that.
That's true. I know somebody who got
certifications
out of the world.
There's a certification right now, though. If I was to go get it, I could go make more money right now. I'm cool off of that. But I love educating the youth.
Give me just for the audience. Give me a couple certifications if you can.
Prompt engineering. So prompt engineering. Everyone knows ChatGPT and things like that, right? But how do you really use it? Like, how do you really get it to look up everything that you need to the T, right? So prompt engineering is basically telling the computer or robot what you want to look up and properly giving it the details to look up the information. So prompt engineering, you can go to Coursera. It's an online platform. You can do the course for 8 weeks and get that, and there you go, off to the races. You can get all the different certs off of Google as well, too. A lot of the times now, some people just use the certs to go get a career or get an advancement in their job. And that's very important. That goes back to, should somebody go to a trade school, somebody get a certification, or go to a 4-year college? At this point, I believe in a 4-year institution still. Because, one, you're looking at somebody who's networking their 4 years. They're getting opportunities. They're being exposed, internships, opportunities, things like this. A 2-year school or a trade school, I still believe that we need to have somebody who can do plumbing. I mean, hey, look.
We need that, yes.
Absolutely. And then also, too, hey, look, we need welders. Welders, we need welders to do underwater welding. So at the end of the day, hey, look, if you go be a plumber and you're good enough to own your own plumbing business and you're a black plumber, hey, look, hey, what's my man's name over there?
Exactly.
Michael. Yeah, Michael's a plumber. He has his own. I'm gonna call Michael. That's my man.
Michael.
I mean, obviously, everyone heard of Steve Harvey talking about his man's being a landscaper, right? He got several different businesses now, things like that. And it's not as impossible. But going back to technology, though, there's several jobs out there. You can be a technical writer. You can be a digital marketer or digital creator.
And all these are good paying jobs.
So, but I'm not gonna sit here and be like, oh my God, you can make $100,000. No, obviously you have to start somewhere, right? So a lot of people think, oh, I'm gonna make $1 million. No, you look at people like Keith Lee. That's still in technology. That's a digital creator or a digital marketer or influencer. Make money all day.
Tell me about that. I don't know.
So Keith Leaf is one of those people, one of the individuals that's a digital influencer that talks about food, things like that. They critique. He'll go do a review about food at a certain location. He goes all over different cities, all across the country, do food reviews. People actually get paid for things like that.
Yeah. So they get paid. I be seeing that. They
get paid for that. Like that's digital marketing or digital ambassador, things like that. That title can go multiple ways. They get real money off of that.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. People don't think about that. You could be a content creator, things like that. Content creator is typically what it's called. But yeah, you get paid real money off of that. Hear me out. Let's say this is weird to me, but people get paid off of it. If you grab some food, you eat it, people might like the sound of it, how crunchy it is, things like that. People take that and actually get paid off of it. I've seen people, there was this one lady, I don't know her name, she was eating lobster and people wanted to see all the sauce and seasons she had and people wanted to hear the crunch sound, stuff like that. Literally gets paid off of doing that. Content creation. If you know the algorithm, if you know the hashtags you need to use, if you know the attire you need to wear, sponsorship, all that. I'm talking about technical writer. Technical writers needed to actually understand, hey, look, this needs to be done here, X, Y, Z. Now, to the flip side of this, right?
Okay, give me the flip side.
What jobs would be lost coming up in the future, right?
Okay, you tell me that. Let's talk about that. What jobs would be lost, specifically in the black community?
So we have a lot of people who do English majors, right? Things in that area, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we have people who do critiques papers or things of that nature, editing, proofreading, could be gone. You can do technical support and technology. That could be wiped away as well, too. Almost.
Now, okay, because we went to a liberal arts school, so we know about having English majors. I was a history major. After I flipped that in education. A lot of people flip it into being a lawyer. Mm-hmm. I know one of I'm going to say her name. Her name is Candace Amos. She was an English major. I know her. She flipped it to being a writer. She wrote for huge publications all over the country. So it's different ways to flip them. Mm-hmm. But like you said, I think that's why I want you to say that. So on this platform, we can know what we can turn these degrees into instead of doing things that are what you call are dying.
I'm not gonna say proofreading is gonna go away or any English major is gonna go away because
English majors are going to be there. It's just what you're gonna do with that degree.
So flip that, right? An English major, right? Let's say with artificial intelligence, right? You still need an ethics editor or ethics creator for AI because we gotta still program artificial intelligence how to be ethical as well too. So you have to write that code in there or give it the correct prompts. So there are jobs that'll be there, but it's going to change the narrative as well too. So you might lose my proofreading, but it might go into ethical writing for AI. Mm-hmm. So that's going to be a job there in the future as well too. Will it be technical? Probably 50-50. You might have to have somebody in the middle there to help put in the code for it, but it's still going to be somebody to help with AI in the future because AI, whatever we feed it, of course it will know what to do. At the time now, will it have its own mind operate? No, we give it the instructions and it does what it needs to do. It doesn't think outside the box. There has been instances how it has thought outside the box. I'm not going to get into that because we can look into that and that's a whole other can of beans because it's not an education.
Do you have any plans to get, because you have a lot of information about, what are your plans to getting this out to the mass?
So with my students, I actually teach them how to use ChatGPT or artificial intelligence, how to help them do their homework. Because in education too, there are systems out there that will check to see, hey, is this somebody's original work? Is this the internet work? Or
there are systems that I'm scared. Yeah. I just got my master's degree and I used ChatGPT a grand total of 0 times. I was so scared that
you're a thinker.
I'm a thinker.
There we go.
I am a thinker.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I was so scared that one of those professors, because all when you're in grad school level, obviously all of them have PhDs.
Mm-hmm.
There is no
They gotta know.
Nah, they're going to know. And I was so
Not his writing.
and they're trained to know you, so they know how I talk, they know how I write, they know everything about me. And I was so scared that they was gonna be like, "Oh, nah, you got that from somewhere else," and pull it up, and then I'm so embarrassed about my career. So I'm afraid to use that. So for people like me, who's an '80s baby, I'm right there. I have a lot of old school, I have a little bit of new school, but more old school.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna say how does that work, but how does that work these days when it comes to schooling? When it comes to schooling, because you said you show your students how to use chat.
GPT. Yeah.
GPT.
So artificial intelligence or chat.
In college,
I got you.
we didn't even have laptops. Go ahead.
So with ChatGPT or artificial intelligence, I have a class called project management, and there I have other classes as well too. But I tell my students, hey, do the work originally at first, right? And I'm gonna show you how to put it into the ChatGPT or whatever system you want to use to help you do it. Either enhance your wording or enhance your code and show you a different way or give you better, language. There's a software called Quillbot. Basically, you put it in and it rephrases your sentences or restructure your sentences.
Say that again for the listeners at home.
Quillbot.
I didn't even hear.
Quillbot. I'm sorry. Quillbot. So Quilbot. And basically, it will help you rephrase your sentences. It'll give you better words, things like that. Another part of it, just another application. That's all. Several different applications out there. So I use that with my students. So one class I teach, like I said, is project management, right? Mm-hmm. So I asked them to basically, hey, look, I want you to create a computer lab. This is the project I gave them. Okay. Create a computer lab, 15 computers. I need you to stay under the budget of $500,000. I want you to design it however you want to. So then I was like, okay, cool. They did that, right? I told them the following week, okay, let's put this in ChatGPT and let's see what it looks like. It's okay, cool. All right, so let's do this again and let's give it some more information. So they started seeing how important it is, looking at the verbiage as well too. Then I was like, okay, this is the internet side. This is what the artificial intelligence said. Let's look at your side and see what you came up with. So let's not use this as only what we depend on, but let's use this as a tool, like a calculator, like we do for other things as well too. Don't strictly depend on it, but let you use it as a resource, a tool to move forward. Okay, and that's what I did with them. So now they understand how to use it, but I still know how to ding them if like you said, professors, they know their students. I know my students, so I'm looking like, hey, that's not your work. No, we're not going here with that. We're going to do this again. So, like you said, professors usually create a profile with their students and know what to do. So they typically will know if this is their work or this is not their work, especially if it's last minute work. No. Mm-hmm. So I use it with my students and show them how to understand how to use the software and how to help them with their assignments or things like that. Help them out with a couple of case studies or projects we want to do in the future. So that's all.
Okay. All right. Well, look, we're going to take another break, ladies and gentlemen. Coming up, we're going to talk about the HBCU side of all of this. We're going to give some insight on some programs, what HBCUs to go to, to better your education for your black child. That and more coming up on the Black Coffee Podcast, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, James Allen. All right, welcome back to the Black Coffee Podcast, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, James Allen. All right. So, Greatheart, you have been to North Carolina A&T. Obviously know what that stands for, agricultural technology. You teach at a HBCU. For my listeners that are thinking about going to an HBCU, not necessarily specifically for technology, but just breaking down the differences and, in attending an HBCU and what type of programs out there, or what type of programs out there that's going to progress us. Like, what am I saying? I'm a teacher. I love being a teacher. I make the max amount of dollars I can make as a master teacher. I'm going to be doing all this stuff. Yeah. But at the end of the day, I'm still in a human service. I'm not,
I get it.
So what's going to take us there?
This goes back to what I said earlier, but this goes up to me, my homeboy. I say, go after your passion, and he always say, go after the money. I say, go after the passion because what you love to do, you're going to keep working at it, and after a while, you're going to be the creme de la creme or that top tier individual. So people are going to seek after you for your experience and your knowledge. My friend always says, go after the money. I respect it. At the end of the day, you got, bring home for your family or whatever you have going on, or you just want, live comfortably, right? Society is expensive right now. I'm looking like, Jesus. I remember growing up as a kid, gas was 107. Look at us now. Never would have thought.
Society is definitely.
I talked to a coworker that you said 107, gas was 79 cents. I was like,
Yeah, I remember when it was 50 cents too.
What?
Yeah, I'm a little older than you.
Yeah, look, 50 cents. Do you know what I would do with my Silverado right now?
Bro, 50 cents, man.
Look,
But rent was only 200 at the time.
Man, I'm going to the beach every weekend. But no, at the end of the day, as we look at this, I always tell people go after their passion, because at the end of the day, that's going to drive you. And it's not going to be so much of a burnout, but you're going to enjoy what you're doing, right? Of course, you can go out the careers and make money. I know someone right now who's a doctor, who went to school for being a doctor, and she's a pharmacist. And I'm like, yeah, you make like $120K, but you don't love what you do. She's like, I don't, but it's easy money. I was like, yeah, I get it. A physician, I'm sorry. Pharmacist? She works in pharmacy. I'm like, yeah, you got all your bills paid, but you don't like what you do? No, I don't, but it's easy money. Okay. Well, I mean, I work only 10 months out the year. If you take out holidays, I probably only work 9 months out of the year. So I love what I do. But moving forward, at the end of the day, we look at higher education. And I tell people go out there, passion. And even with your passion, sometimes we don't know what we can do with our degrees. So like we stated earlier, certification, college, or you can go to a trade, things like that.
So with a CIS degree, what can you do with a CIS degree?
Computer information, here's the thing. You can really go into a lot of different areas. I can go to accounting if I want to. I can go into project management. I can go into programming, network engineering.
Are these fields that black people are in?
Yeah. So my original department chair of my department, right? She was actually a PMP, project management professional, right? I'm like, what are you doing here? Oh, this is just my chump change. Excuse me? Like, this is just my chump change. I was like, chump change? Man, what? She makes lucrative money. Being a network engineer, basically going into the internet, the routers, things like that.
I just don't feel like our boys don't be known. I'm learning
lack of exposure.
What? How do we get them exposed? Okay, STEM. Let's talk about STEM Adventures of STEM real quick. That was your platform.
Yes, I just haven't really been posting a lot on it lately.
Doesn't matter. You started. So what was it?
So really it's about opportunities and places I've been with technology or been in the areas or arenas because of technology. Like I travel honestly about 5 times a year, non-paid, because of I don't have to pay anything because the organizations I work for or partner with pay for me. So there's a conference I'm going to real big this year. It's called Afrotech, right? That's Afrotech is real big for the black community when it comes to technology organizations. People come out there just to look for people who's interested in being hired in the market as African Americans and things of this nature, or diversity. However, at the end of the day, I gotta say exposure is everything. We're not exposed to these opportunities. We don't know. We don't have these conversations. I mean, I'm an advocate of HBCUs, but I say going to college in general, yes. Now, I'm going to say HBCUs because this is the area I know most. I go to a PWI for PhD because there wasn't a lot of schools that was offering what I want, but I'll leave that there. However, at the end of the day, HBCUs do offer technology. Everyone's going for cybersecurity these days. Everybody's going for some kind of technology area. So it is out there. Not every HBCU, but majority that I've seen. If I'm correct, it's 107 right now HBCUs out there. And let me get at that. So out of the 107 HBCUs, right? So there's called R1, R2, R3. These are your research institutions, right? R1 institutions. And that category is 146 colleges. That means they have a doctoral program too for research, right? Out of those 146 or 147, 146 colleges, right? How many HBCUs do you think there are there?
I actually went to R1 school for my master's, but it was not a HBCU.
But how many HBCUs you think are R1?
3. Maybe
0.
3. Oh, wow.
So when you go to an R2 level for facility for research, it's it's a lower tier. Nothing wrong with being a tier 2 for research. How many HBCUs you think are in an R2?
Maybe 1.
11. R3 is more, of course, but at the end of the day, the closest HBCUs that are closer to R1 institutes are like your FAMUs, A&T, Howard, and there's one more. I can't think of the top of my head, but it's because you have to have these doctoral programs as well too, and the funding behind it, things of this nature, which also pushes these organizations to go into the R1, R2, being known for research. I remember the other day I talked to you about Alabama A&M. I do know they have a center for doing research for HIV and AIDS. Every institution.
Yeah, I want to talk about this. Let's talk.
I couldn't find the statistics about that research they found, but I don't know where it went to. I seen it.
But you seen it?
Mm-hmm. But they do a lot of research for an institution for Alabama A&M. One of my friends went there, John Thomas. He went there for research. For his PhD, and he did research to security. It wasn't called cybersecurity at the time, but it was for security testing. So when you look at these institutions, once again, you have to see what that child or individual wants to go to, because everyone forgets about the HBCU that was in Florida for what? Medicine, right? People forgot about that one. So you didn't know about that one.
I didn't.
Yeah, it was in
Please
California.
educate me.
I can't remember the name of it, but it was one in California for medical sciences. It closed a while ago, but yeah, it was one in California because all your HBCUs are where? On the East Coast. If you look at, so let me ask you this question. So which HBCU has the most whites that go there?
Wait, I'm the host. How you gonna ask me questions?
So
no. I'm answering.
Yeah.
I'm answering. I'm just playing. Howard,
Bluefield, West Virginia. And the funny thing about it is people forget about that HBCU. I forgot about it until they came back into the CIAA
and beat the brakes off us in football, and then didn't win another game. Anyways, I digress. Go ahead.
That's what happens when you have people who come into a conference and nobody knows about them. That's the story.
Right. Okay, yeah.
But yeah, Bluefield was one of those areas where it was coal mining, and basically a lot of African Americans were in that area. But something happened and drove the African Americans out, which brought in more of the other races in there, and that's how it became a more of a dominant. I think Bluefield is 77%, or it's up there, whites. But
77%.
yeah, there's nothing wrong with the institution. I'm just saying that's what it was, but that's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But I've never been there. I'm quite interested to go there. They'll tell you the truth, to go visit. It's in West Virginia. When they came to the CIAA, I was like, who is Bluefield? Because I thought I knew all the HBCUs. I was like, nah, this is why I didn't know. Go ahead.
No, so because I know I gotta let you go. I know you.
Oh, you good, boss?
I know you gotta let you go. So, do you think? Okay, when baseball wanted more people and more blacks to get into baseball, they went into the hoods. They went with the little boys and had camps with little boys. You know, that's where you started. You can't just tell black grown-ups to come out. You got to start there. So what I want to know before I let you go, what specifically could HBCUs, what programs could we put in front of people that look like me? Not you because you have a suit on and you outdressed me today, but that's a whole nother story. Who look like me, who have nappy hair, and
so Livingstone College, where I work at, we actually had like several STEM program camps this summer, right? From not even K. I want to say like second grade all the way up to like high schoolers, to 10th graders or so. And the reason I bring this up is because colleges do offer summer programs as well too, and camps. I hate to say this, but it's that exposure or being in that community. Livingstone went to a community and actually said, hey, look, they went to the schools like, hey, we're having this camp or this opportunity for kids to come out. They taught them math. They taught them STEM programs. They flew drones, not like the drones you think about, like the high techy ones, but there are like Lego drones out there, or your moderate type of drones. They learn how to program that. They did other things in STEM. So it's like being aware of what the high school might offer or what connections they might have in your organizations in your area, because there are always organizations feeding into the community. We have to find out what they are. And I'm not saying, oh, well, I just don't know. Do you look? Do you find out? Well, I got to figure out how to play basketball. Okay, well, how do you get your child to STEM? Let me figure out how to find a camp. We go find everything else out on social media, but how come we can't?
One thing I will say is that I do feel like our black kids, they're not just saying I want to be an athlete.
Yeah.
These kids are retiring at an early age. These kids getting NIL deals. These kids are investing their money different places.
They are.
So it's kind of different. Not like when I was growing up.
You got social media.
So that's what you said. The social media.
You got social media.
Mm.
The cell phones is the most powerful device you will ever have in your hand. If you want to figure something out, you go look it up. I'm real heavy on that.
Mm.
Because if you want to learn how to do something, pick up that phone. You go to YouTube University. Call it a day.
YouTube University.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Mr. Greatheart, man, I want to thank you for coming back to the Black Coffee Podcast, man. You dropped some jewels for us today. Hopefully, my audience can take some of this stuff with them as they go on. Like I said, I just want to have a different conversation. Like I said, we're no longer, I feel like we're no longer in that where black kids just want to be like Mike. You look at Jaylen Brown. I have heard more people talk about him being involved with NASA. How smart he's from this area too. Jaylen Brown. He's from this area, and the MVP, the Finals MVP for the Boston Celtics. For those who don't know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And he's really, really smart, and but that's the way the world is going. And I just want us to, as blacks thinkers, to guide our youth in the right way, not just where we think they should go, but where they should be.
Can I give you a random fact?
Please do.
So, in football, different positions have different mindsets, right?
Absolutely.
Which position on the field you think has the most advanced degrees?
That's a good question. I would say quarterback or kicker.
Offensive lineman. Most of them are electrical engineers, mathematics majors, and not just your bachelor. Most of them have master's degrees as well, too. Go look it up. I know a few offensive linemen have PhDs, so go have at it. Get some time, go look it up. It's crazy, ain't it?
And what position did you play?
I play offensive guard and tackle, so.
Look at you trying to press up.
Just want to throw that out there, though.
All right, man. Hey, man, I want to thank you again for coming by, man.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you anytime.
You didn't have to outdress me, though, man.
Hey, look, I had to show up, man.
God.
Had to show up. We being live, so I had to show up, man.
Golly.
Had to put on,
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you've enjoyed the show. Till next time, ladies and gentlemen, I am your host, James Allen.
Yes, sir.
Good stuff, bro.